People want an app that's going, like, hey, we got this new app that saves your relationship. Just put in the parameters of what's going on and we'll tell you how to fix it all. Like, I can give you the instruction manual. You still got to go out there and do the hard work.
Welcome to the Heroes at Home podcast, where we believe heroes can thrive both at work and at home. This podcast is for those who stand watch while we sleep, who run into buildings while others run out, for those who deploy to hard places to have hard fights, and for the families that support them. Through candid conversation, we will discuss the side of things that don't get glorified in the media, what happens when they come home. We'll be talking with heroes from all walks of life and their partners, children, friends, and beyond, so together we can build a stronger family. I'm Noel Metter, CEO, joined by my co-host, Keni Thomas.
Well, for me, it's not lost on me that I'm one of those guys that stands on a stage and tells a very positive story with my head held high, and I will always, I take time to do this after every speech. I'll stand there and sign books, or I'll stand there and hang out for as long as people want to talk. Because almost always there's a veteran who waits at the end of the line or waits till the thing's over and they kind of want to go, man, how do you do it? And I go, well, all right, so what do you mean by, well, how do I do it? Well, it seems like, you got it together. And I'm like, okay, I do have it together on a stage, because the stage was a very safe place for me when I got out of the military, because it allowed me to not have to transition. It allowed me to not have to interact in a give and take situation. It was just me giving from the stage. And then Kenny could Elvis the building, when I was done. And who did I go home to? I went home to the relationships. Before I got married and I got out of the Army, I was in a relationship for 5 years with a girl, and wonderful woman. And then that one tanked. And then I had another relationship for 3 years, and that one tanked. And then I got married, and that one tanked. And at some point I had to realize that, like all those relationship country songs, like, why am I picking the same people? But then how many times have we sat in those counseling sessions and we're like, well, what's the common denominator here? Is it the people or is it you? And it was me. And the challenge in the short thing was I could not hold down a relationship. I did not know how to have a two-way street, because there was a lot of intimacy that is required. That's a great word. Intimacy required in a relationship that I did not allow my heart to feel because of that Sergeant Thomas that shaped a lot of who I am, and because of the fact that I was constantly telling the story. So I'm just reliving it over and over and over again. And it was when I finally got married and I'm thinking, man, this is it. This is great. This is what a Ranger buddy's supposed to be like out here in the real world. And the same thing started happening for me. I don't know how it affects everybody. It's going to affect everybody different. It's like COVID. Like some people have different symptoms. Some people it's very extreme. Some people it's pretty mild, but it affects you one way or another. Who you were downrange, wearing the boots, being part of something, and then now who you are out here without that, it affects you. And when that marriage started going south, my first reaction was, well, you're supposed to be my Ranger buddy, and you're supposed to be there, and you made a commitment, and you made a promise. Man, I ran into the line of fire for guys. And it was on deaf ears, and she had already checked out, because I didn't have the skill set or the communication skill set to see it coming. Like, the chance to save that marriage was a year before that, when she was trying to tell me. Now, we can get into the positive part of that struggle, but that's when you and I met, was right about then. And Carissa called and asked me if I would come speak. And I'm like, who are you guys? Stronger families. I'm like, yeah, I don't have a strong family. I don't even have a family. Like, no. And then Carissa just kept on me, and I'm like, but I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not the model of who it is that you want. And then now that I'm highly involved with y'all and stronger families, I realize that I am the model of who you want, which is a person who struggled and failed and then saw the value of how I could have done better had I been able to, if I had had the stronger family skill set, I bet you I'd probably still be married. The good thing is even though that relationship stumbled and fell by the wayside, I finally had that aha moment that we talked about on the front end where I'm like, man, the common denominator is me. And then you and I can start talking about the hard work it requires of ourselves. We have a really good story from my buddy Jeff Struker who talks about that. Like, you can't put it all on your spouse. Like, you have to do the hard work yourself. And that, it may or may not save the relationship, but it'll put you in a better position. And when I did that hard work of figuring out how to deal with what I had kept buried inside of me and how it was affecting relationships and what I wasn't doing, my symptoms, and how to cure those, then all of a sudden, lo and behold, you come out and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm holding the keys to the kingdom. Like, I got it. And now I'm in a relationship that's fantastic and it's healthy and we work at it, but it's not a struggle where she's having to drag me through my darkness. How was that?
Preach, brother. That is so, I mean, and I think
I'm a preacher.
I think
I just knocked my lampshade off. Sorry.
And I think your story is like so many others, right? In the sense of delaying the hard work, delaying the realization that I can't change someone else. And I think so often we want, it's kind of like the Matrix. Hey man, if you take the pill overnight, it's going to magically all work out. And the reality is that it doesn't work that way. I mean, it's a factor of two. It's two people playing in this, right? There's two people that have to show up and say, I'm willing to fight. I'm willing to put it all on the line. Now, sometimes that doesn't mean that all of them are at the same level of commitment to that process, but there has to be some level of commitment to, I got to do the hard work. And I really want to dig in there, because I think if there's one thing that I've seen in you, and I've seen it in a whole lot of others who have served our country, you guys know how to put the hard work in. Like, there's no doubt when the going gets rough, you guys know how to hold the line, right? And step up to the challenges and overcome.
I see what you did there, Noel.
You like
Good
that?
job. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah, yeah.
I know. But the reality is that somehow that breaks down when it gets to the relational aspect of going back home. And I wonder, I'm just going to pose this and I want to get your reaction to it. Is it that you're trained to turn off the emotion so that you can deal with what is coming at you on the battlefield, to deal with whatever circumstance you might be thrown into? Is it hard to then turn that emotion back on and, like you said, be intimate, to be open and vulnerable and all those kind of things is that part of that hard work that so often, you see so many say, nah, I'm not doing it. I can't do it.
Yeah, man, what a great question. And that I wish I could just fire off this. If you ask me about the battle, I can fire off answers because I've answered 1,000 times. That one's I got to give a thought to that, because I would say at first, no, I don't think that you're trained to take the emotion out of it. I still felt emotion on the battlefield, but like all of us, with anybody who deals with any kind of trauma, whatever trauma is for you, whether it's a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, or a 25-year-old on the battlefield, or 50-year-old going through divorce, whatever that trauma is, you compartmentalize it. And so you deal with it the best that you know how. And so the things that were the negative parts of seeing so much for lack of a better, for just seeing so much death and it's being so matter of fact. Like if you sit down, like I've lost friends and family members in the last 2 years to COVID, and I have a very healthy outlook on that now. And people look at me and they go, "What is it because you were trained?" And I'm like, no, I have a very matter of fact view of it all. The body just stops working. And so, but there's still emotion tied to it. And the emotion tied to it it's in the loss. Because the family still lose somebody, and there is a finality to it. And he was one of my good friends, or he was my brother. So there's an emotion to it, but you learn to put that emotion away. And then this happens. Oh, and then you put that emotion away for that. And then you lose a guy in a training accident, and you put that emotion away. And you're standing there at the ceremony, and they're firing the 21 gun salute, and you're standing there at attention, and you're doing your best to put that emotion away. And what ends up happening, Noel, is we, and this sounds sort of lyrical in songwriting, but we harden our hearts without even knowing it. And it becomes very difficult to become vulnerable and intimate, which a relationship with a woman requires. It's what they're made of, vulnerability and intimacy. Like, they do it way better than we do, but they also expect it from us. And I did not have it to give because I didn't know how to do it. And I can tell you right now, there's people out there listening that I am speaking from a gibberish to them right now. Like, I might as well be living on the island of Jabbar. That's what I say to my 5-year-old. You live on the island of Jabbar because you're speaking gibberish. But I don't know what intimacy is. What is that? But that's what's happening. And you, as Yoda would say, you have to unlearn what you have learned. Like, you have to learn to open your heart and allow it. And dude, I'm going to tell you, when I tell you it's hard work, just insert painful in there. But you give me one success story that didn't require a lot of no pain, no gain. It requires effort.
Yeah.
And that's don't even get me started on, people want an app that's going, hey, we got this new app that saves your relationship. Just put in the parameters of what's going on and we'll tell you how to fix it all. I can give you the instruction manual. You still got to go out there and do the hard work.